Now we're going to go in the opposite direction. Now I'm given a graph and I want to find an equation for the graph. First thing I want to do is I want to look and I want to say, well, do you think this would be a sine function or a cosine function? The best way to tell is, remember, if we want the sine of 0, we're looking over here. What is and the sine is always the y value. What's the y value at that point?
At 0?
It is.
So
exactly. So the sine of 0 equals 0. And if I say the cosine of 0, I'm at the same point, but now I'm looking for my x value. Remember, the radius of this circle is always 1 when we're on the unit circle.
right.
So that my value of x is 1. That makes sense still?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I can tell because of these values that I'm either going through the point 0, 1, or I'm going through the point 0, 0. I'm obviously not going through 0, 0. The cosine starts at 1 usually, but here it's starting at 3. But since it's not starting at 0, I'm going to say I know this is going to be a cosine graph. I don't know much else, but I'm going to say there's some a cosine of bx. So right now, we're not working with anything that's moving up or down or right or left. We're just expanding and contracting. That's all we're doing here. Do we have any idea what a is? Remember, a is my amplitude.
3.
Good. So a equals 3. Now I know y equals 3 cosine of bx. Now we only have to find b. We found out that the period is going to equal 2 pi over b. Now it tells me what my period is here and how I would find. If it didn't tell me, I'd have to find it. If I'm starting here and I go through one full cycle, this would be where I would end, right? And then I'd start again. And it's the same. I could start at 1/2. And if this went far enough, I would have another point right here that would be one cycle, okay, or one period. But what it's telling me is my period is from 0 to 1 here. So my period is actually 1 for this graph.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, good. So now I have 1 is equal to 2 pi over b. I can solve for b by multiplying both sides by b. So I have b equals 2 pi. The equation for this graph is 3 cosine of 2 pi x. If b is equal to 1, which means I just have sine of x, right?
Yes.
Then my period would be 2 pi.
Yes.
But as this changes, as this b changes, what happens is my graph compresses, right? It gets smaller as b gets bigger. Because p is equal to 2 pi over b, if this was 2 pi, then I would have my period is 2 pi and my b would be 1.
Yes.
But it's not. So they've changed it on me. They changed my period value to 1 because now I'm going from 0 to 1. So I put that in for p, and that equals, I actually like the formula better that looks like this. P new, so my new period, because it changes depending on what that b value is equal to my original period divided by b. So my original period for sine and cosine is 2 pi. And my new period for this graph is 1. So if this is a better formula that is more informative, whatever the algebra is we have to do. Again, let's start. And the first thing I want to do is I want to decide, is this a sine or a cosine graph? Find an equation for this graph. Do you think this would be better as a sine or a cosine graph?
So from what I remember, you were saying that if it doesn't start at 0, it's cosine. So is this a sine?
This would be sine because it is starting at 0. Perfect.
Okay.
So we have sine. So let's say we have a sine bx.
We know that the amplitude is 2.
Good. So we're going to change this to 2 sine of bx. And now I need to find b. How would I find b?
B would be the period, which is 4.
The new period is, well, it's p old over b, right? So the new period on this graph is 4.
Yes.
What's the original period for sine?
2 pi.
2 pi. And I'm trying to find b. So basically I can multiply both sides by b and divide both sides by 4, right?
Yes.
So now I know that b is equal to pi over 2. I have y is equal to 2 sine of pi over 2 x. There's only one thing missing, and I don't know if you can, it's hard to notice unless you get really used to it. Do you remember what I said about sine and what direction it starts in? If we look at our unit circle and we're going in the positive direction and sine is my y values, all these values up here for sine are positive, aren't they?
Yes.
And notice here, it starts off and it goes negative. What it should start off doing is going positive. So what does that mean? It means it's been flipped over the x-axis. It
Yes.
normally would look like this.
Yes.
So that just means I get a negative out front here. That's all because I flipped it over the x-axis, which means I had a y transformation there.
Makes sense.